Was that a yes?
Yes, please.
All right, thank you.
Share the screen. While you speak.
All right, good afternoon. My name is David Vaughn. I am a proud two-rail O-scale modeler, and I serve also as president of the O-scale Kings. On behalf of the Kings, I want to welcome everybody to our first online O-scale two-rail program. We know we're not the only O-scalers on the Zoom, but we are proud to join the crowd. We expect to be developing and repeating these programs on approximately a monthly basis. The invitations went out only to O-scale Kings members. If some of you are friends and family rather than members yourselves, we welcome you anyway. Eventually, we do want to take this show on the road to the larger O-scale community, but you all are serving as our guinea pigs for the development of the O-scale two-rail online. I think the official title is O-scale Central Online. We'll be talking more about what O-scale Central means and introducing anybody who is not already up to speed with those resources. The last year has been hard on everybody. And while we recognize that way down on the cosmic list, but very high on our minds, is that we have been trapped in our basements. We miss our train buddies, and we can't wait to get back to train shows. This program is a small way to get us and you out of our basements and back to thinking about trains in the real world. We will cover O-scale news, what Dan Dowdy calls news you can use. We will be including features like layout tours, how-to and skill-building clinics. And as we develop, we will also try and cover interviews, panel discussions, and other formats with people who have interesting things going on in the O-scale two-rail world. Consider this first program as a dress rehearsal before we go on the road. So you can think of it as starting in Peoria before we go on to Broadway. Part of what we're doing with these programs, though, is to build perks that will only go to O-scale two-rail members. We're feeling our way along in terms of how that works. But we also want to reach out to all O-scale two-rail modelers and potential converts. So we will be developing a broader audience. We have three features today. You can see it up on your screen. The first is that we will have breaking news about the 2021 O-scale National Convention, which is to be held in Denver in June. I didn't see whether Bob Chellen, the O-scale Convention chair, is on the program. If he's not, I assume he will have somebody to cover for him. If he's not yet with us, we will take his presentation out of order. He will give us an exclusive view inside the program and the convention arrangements. Denver is going to be great. We've been working closely with him. Bob is going to tell us about it. Second part of the program will be Walter Horlacher from the Southeast Florida Modular O-scale Club. They are planning an in-person modular meet to which all O-scale Kings members are invited. I think everyone understands that with space and mobility issues, modules are a wave of the future. Walter will be telling us about the club, its modules, and how it operates. And third, Nick Bulgarino, who is the O-scale Central Coordinator and serves also as the Secretary for O-scale Kings, will give us an orientation to O-Scale Central projects, which are sponsored by O-Scale Kings. O-Scale Central includes a scale-wide product and service guide, a forum for pressing issues, and an orientation for modelers new to the scale on how to start and how to convert to O-Scale from other scales. Nick will show you how to find and use the features. We will be using screen share to provide audio visual support. If you only have telephone audio, John Wubble will be telling us toward the end of the program how it may be offered in other formats, so you'll be able to see the audio visual. We're going to cover a lot of ground quickly, and to avoid the barking dogs and small children who seem to inevitably participate in Zoom calls, we are asking that you leave your microphone muted during the presentations. There will be 2 exceptions to the muted mic rule. The second will be at the end of the program when we unmute the mics for questions to our presenters. We're going to try and handle all of the questions from the different presentations and any more general questions at one time after we get through the presentations. So we'll ask you to unmute your mics at that point. And if you are familiar with the chat feature of Zoom, you may use it during the presentations. Also, we'll be gathering questions and address those at the end as well, although we will also take questions live. The first unmuting is going to take place right now. And we would like each of you to introduce yourselves briefly by name, the town or place, or in Kel's situation, country you're from, and give us one sentence only so we can keep moving about you. So an example, I'm David Vaughn. I live in Clarksville, Maryland, and I model the Nickel Plate Road and Canandaigua Southern. So I'm going to ask everybody to unmute your mics at this point, and starting at the beginning of the alphabet, we'll go through in a very summary way. So turn your mics on, please, and let's start A, B, C, D. I see Bruce Blackwood. I know you're a B. You got to say hello, Bruce.
You kind of just went ABC, and I was like, anyway, I'm Bruce Blackwood. I live in Mount Airy, Maryland. Model pretty much anything I like in O-Scale 2-rail.
Thank you. Joe Barker.
I'm Joe Barker. I live in Alameda, California, and I mostly model in 3-rail O-Scale, but I do have a small collection of 2-rail equipment. I'm interested in pursuing that also.
Very good, Joe. Thank you. And Joe participated in the O-Scale blog in its early stages and gave us some good feedback. Dan Dowdy?
Hi, my name's Dan Dowdy. I live in Dwight, Illinois. I model my own road, and it's a blistery 50 degrees in Illinois, so I'm outside today.
Very good. Paul Hansen.
Paul Hansen, Indianapolis, Indiana, and I model Indiana Railroad model.
Very good. I forgot Nick Bulgarino at the beginning. Nick?
Hi, I'm Nick Bulgarino. I'm from Ellicott City, Maryland, and I model the B&O.
And he will try and turn any conversation that you have with him into describing the advantages of power on board, or as we used to say, dead rail. Okay, Walter Horlacher. And you're still muted. There you
yes,
go.
there we go. There we go. Hello, everybody. My name is Walter Horlacher. I'm here in Tamarack, Florida. That's just north of Miami by about an hour. And I model in my favorite road really is Milwaukee Road. I grew up on the Sioux Line, from Milwaukee originally, and do like all those Midwestern roads. And I'll be talking to you all later about the Southeastern Florida O-Scalers and our invitational.
Super. Vinny Parachanian, did I get that right? You need to unmute yourself. There you go.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Vinny Parachanian. I live in West Palm Beach, Florida, and I build two-rail O-scale dioramas. And you can find me on YouTube under O-scale custom models and trains. And originally from Massachusetts, so I love Boston and Maine, New York, Central Pennsylvania, all the Eastern railroads.
Outstanding. I missed Ken Nesper. I'm sorry. Hi, Ken.
Hey, Ken Nesper, Washington, D.C. I model O standard gauge. I've got an industrial railroad based on the B&O, and I've also picked up some ON30, and I'm doing Ohio River and Western.
Thank you. Dan Pence?
Hi, Dan Pence, Washington, D.C. I'm on the board of directors of O-Scale Kings. I am a in between a Western Maryland two-rail O-Scale railroad and whatever will be in our new quarters, and also on the board of directors of the Grand Trunk Western Historical Society and editor of its journal.
Thank you. Eric Peterson?
Yeah, Eric Peterson, Carmel, Indiana, model in O-Scale two-rail. I model CSX and predecessors all the way back to steam. I'm involved with the O-Scale Kings board and as the Nmra Special Interest Group contact.
Super. Jamie Robinson, you got to unmute yourself. Thank you.
Yep, I'm all set. My name is Jamie Robinson. I live in Turner, Maine. I'm about an hour north of Portland in central Maine. I'm a Proto 48 guy and a longtime B&M in central Vermont fan, and I'm now Proto freelancing with connections to those two railways.
Thank you. Kel Sherson.
Hey, hi, I'm from Wellington in New Zealand, and that's a bit of a clue about what I model.
It's one of our overseas nickel plate contingent, and
Half done. Yeah, I model low scale, and yes, yeah, that's the one.
That's right. Very good. Mike Walter. Mike, I'm sorry.
Mike Walter from Fort Worth, Texas. I've got a combination two-rail and high-rail layout that I'm working on, mostly the two-rail right now.
Thank you. And Mike is also on the board. I missed two people who are not showing with video. I've got Pam Larson on, and if you wish, you may introduce yourself. There you go.
I'm Kent Larson, and I am hiding under the name of Pam Larson. She's the lessor of the PS&L Railroad, and I'm the lessee.
All right. Thank you for joining us.
You got it.
And I've got a 617 area code with no name. If you want to introduce yourself, please do.
John, you might have to unmute it because it's a phone number.
Okay. I take that as a not at this time. Okay. Thank you all for attending. And you are, as I indicated, something of our road show concerning the program and the format. And we ask that you provide us with feedback about the program after it's over and tell us what's on your mind. And I've got a real easy email to do that to. I am president@oscalekings.org. Pretty hard to miss. If you have follow-up questions for Nick, he is, ta-da, secretary@oscalekings.org. And John Wubble will give you his email at the conclusion of the program. And he will also be announcing the follow-on from this program, including the next program, which will be in approximately a month. But I don't see Bob Chellen on the line. Am I missing that?
I don't think he has joined yet, or
Okay.
Michelle.
I'm going to go ahead then and make an executive decision to go to our second presenter, Walter Horlacher. Hold on, before I do that, John, do you have anything to ask or tell regarding Bob Chellen's participation?
I do not. I assume he will be logging in here and presenting. I do have some slides queued up to be shared as he speaks.
Okay, I'm gonna try and email him just in case. He's on Colorado time, so he is 2 hours behind us, and the folks out in Colorado are a little loosey-goosey. I think it may have be the result of their recent changes in law. But I will try and track him down while Walter is telling us about the modular group. So without further ado, Walter Horlacher.
Okay, well, thank you, David. Hello, everybody. And for those that may have tuned in late here, my name is Walter Horlacher. I'm down here in sunny South Florida, and we have an O-scale modular group here that Steve Pariseau and myself started 10 years ago. And we're called the Southeastern Florida O-scalers. And basically between Steve and myself, we built a complete modular O-scale railroad. And we have several other members that do have modulars that they can run with us. I'm basically here today to plug our O-scale Invitational. And for many folks, it's a new word for them, an O-scale Invitational. What is it? And to tell you how this all came about, Steve Pariseau contacted me, and he was getting a little bit cabin fever, COVID cabin fever. We haven't done any shows in over a year. And he said, listen, maybe we should do something for ourselves. Let me look around and see if I can find a hall somewhere that we can rent and set up our modulars for ourselves. So I said, yeah, go ahead and do that. See what you can find. So, he went to around some fraternal organizations in town and around and about. And, he went to the Elks Club and went to the Kiwanis and VFW, American Legion, Elks Club, and just to see what was out there. And I hope this inspires other people to do the same if you have a modular group or somebody has a modular group. But Steve came up with the American Legion Hall in Jupiter Tequesta, and they'll rent us their entire hall room for $50 a day. And so we rented that hall for 5 days, and we can set our modulars up for ourselves. But then I was talking to Steve, and I said, hey, you know what? If we're setting this modular layout up, why don't we invite all the friends we've made along the way in the past 10 years at all these railroad shows that we've been to here in South Florida, and let them know that we're going to set up our modules, and we'd like to invite them to come out. So hence, this is where this O-scale Invitational came from. It's something an O-scale modular group can do on their own, find a hall, secure it, and invite all your friends to come out to this, and fellow O-scalers that are people have interest in O-scale. And I hope this will inspire other people to do that. But more about our show, we're having our invitational. It's going to be from March 10th to the 14th. And like I mentioned earlier, it's going to be at the American Legion Post 271, located at 775 North US 1 in Jupiter Tequesta. And we'll be running daily from 9:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. So we have plenty of running time. And the American Legion Hall has the kitchen open for us, so we can have breakfast, lunch, or dinner there, as well as our guests. And best of all, they have a bar, so we can go in there and get our favorite beverage and come out and watch the trains run and sharing some fellowship. I know probably people are curious about our modular layout and how we developed it. This is actually my third O-scale modular group that I belong to. The first one was Florida Atlantic Lines, which John Wubble was a member of. And it was in the early days, and we had followed the NMRA guidelines for bench work. And then we had a second modular group that was the Florida O-scalers, and that was started by Marty up there in up on the Space Coast. And then finally we settled on starting our own group, the Southeastern Florida O-scalers. And what we wanted to do is we wanted the modular platform to be something that was easy to transport and capable of or being able to have one person set it up. If you were by yourself, that you could actually set this modular up by yourself. And I have done so. So we kind of departed from the strict guidelines of the NMRA, and you know, we still use the NMRA as a guideline for our modules. I kind of jokingly say the NMRA guidelines for the modules are to take a line from the Pirates of the Caribbean. The guidelines are more like parlay. They're merely guidelines. So we've taken those, and we've taken the best of several modular groups and incorporated their ideas into our modulars, and that's what we have today. And oh, there's some other things I can add to this. That's right. Just for inspiration, we are having a raffle at this meet, and we're going to raffle off the O-Scale Kings limited edition reefer car that you had offered back in 2019. And we are going to offer a free raffle ticket to anybody that presents an O-Scale Kings membership card. And to sweeten it up, if you join O-Scale Kings this weekend, we will give you 5 free raffle tickets. So we do want to encourage people to join O-Scale Kings at this event. And we will certainly corner anybody that is not an O-Scale King member and persuade them to join O-Scale Kings. Let me look at my notes here, see if there's anything else here that I have missed.
Walter, can I run the video? Maybe you can.
Sure. Go ahead and run go ahead. I didn't even know. I thought maybe you were running the video while I was talking. I don't know.
I was waiting for you to give me a cue.
Oh.
And maybe you can speak to the RSVP and the COVID.
Okay.
How you're going to handle that, okay?
Sure. Roll them.
All right. Let me roll it.
Well, there's our invitational, and you can look that up online as well. But we would like folks to RSVP. This is actually a video clip taken a couple years ago when the layout was smaller, and that is actually a Sunset Third Rail GM Train of Tomorrow that's owned by the late Ronald Dietrich. He just passed away this past June. And that's his Cal Zephyr train, Atlas Cal Zephyr train, the complete consist. But anyway, I don't want to get sidetracked here, but we are having our invitational, like I said, March 10th through the 14th in Jupiter to Cuesta. If you know somebody that's vacationing in Florida or somebody that lives in Florida that's an O-scaler, please let them know this is going on. We are COVID sensitive. We are going to take individuals' temperatures when they arrive. If your temperature is more than 100 degrees, you will not be allowed in, and you'll have to ask to be returned later on. It is an RSVP because we don't want too many people to be there at one time. It is not a show. It is an invitational. And to RSVP, you can simply call me 954 254-4609. And that information is also on the O Scale Kings website, or you can email me at horlackerw@bellsouth.net. That's HORLACHERW@bellsouth.net. And I will get you written down. I've already had some good responses. I've had people leave me phone messages, and I've called them back and wrote down when they're going to come and see us. So I'm encouraged. We're looking forward to have a great time. And I think it's a unique opportunity to have our modular sub for 5 days and have people come and go as they please, and have lunch or breakfast there, or enjoy a drink with us in the evening. We will have a Cracker Barrel round table kind of thing in the evening to wrap things up. The American Legion said they're not going to throw us out until 10 p.m. So even though we stop running trains at 8, we might hang out in the lounge for a few hours longer. John, did I forget anything?
I don't think so, Walter. Very good. Interesting. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. And,
Thank you, Walter.
Okay.
We have our mystery as to what's happening with the O Scale National Convention. I think we have at least solved why Bob Chellin, who is ordinarily a very reliable guy, is not here. And without putting too fine a point on it, he had his COVID shot yesterday, and apparently had an unpleasant reaction to it. So he is unable to be with us, which puts us at a little bit of a disadvantage, because Bob has been a very energetic chair of the O Scale National in Denver. And he is much more up to speed on it than John Wubble or Nick Bulgarino or I are. But let me give you an outline. First of all, if you go on oscalekings.org, and Nick is going to be giving us an orientation on that, which will perhaps have some more detail. But there is a list of different websites that we have, and one of them is OSNC, which is the O Scale National Convention. And I see Nick is putting this up on screen share right now. The convention is going to be at June 17 through 20 of 2021. It will be in Denver. We have a great hotel, the Hyatt Regency Aurora. We have a great program put together. Bob has a very good committee working on that. And we'll have the usual trading hall. We will have a banquet with a fascinating speaker. We have several layout tours of O Scale layouts, including David Stewart's Appalachian and Ohio, which was a cover layout with features on it in Model Railroader. It is very large. It has a working hump yard. It is a Appalachian coal hauler, and is put together in a very, very sophisticated way. It's worth the trip to Denver just to see Dave Stewart's layout. It's incredibly well done. There will be a convention car, which Dave Stewart has agreed to have as an Appalachian and Ohio car. And there are some other things in development. I can't tell you any details, but They center around a small locomotive called I think it's 4014, which is the Union Pacific Big Boy. I can't tell you anything more about that right now, but watch this space. After the convention itself is over, Michelle Campana, I'm probably screwing up the pronunciation on that name, who is listed on the as a member of the executive committee for Denver. There you go. And she is the executive director of the Colorado Model Railroad Museum. And she is a tour coordinator and is very conversant with the Colorado narrow gauge railroads. And after the convention is over, there is an optional Colorado rail tour that she is going to be the tour guide for. And the details of that will be posted soon on the convention website, but it will involve a lot of inside baseball, special pricing, special access to different parts of the Colorado rail tourism efforts, including Durango and Silverton, Cumbres and Toltec, Georgetown Loop, Colorado Railroad Museum, and I think some others. And Michelle is a very knowledgeable and skilled and charming person. So for, I think it's 6 days after the convention is over, there is an extra charge on that, obviously, but it will be available to people registering for the convention. We have had a few logistical hiccups with regard to the registration. And the last time I looked, which was yesterday, the registration specifics had not yet been posted. It was still a ghost part of the website, but it is supposed to be up in the next day or so. And I encourage everybody to get on board and come and attend the Denver convention. It's going to be a great program. It'll be a great trading hall. We'll have some terrific open houses and some field trips, a good banquet, the possibility of some real exotic sideshows, and afterwards the terrific Colorado rail tour that's going to take place. And I don't think we are going to have Bob on during the show today. If you will email me with specific questions, I will be happy to follow up with you as soon as I get the information. Do be watching the space for the specifics on registering. That's my best Bob Jellin imitation. I'm sorry we don't have Bob himself, and I'm sorry he's under the weather, but we will pick it up from here. This is part of the No Battle Plan survives contact with the enemy, and we are seeing that with the program, but we will push on, and we will take questions at the end, and we will also take questions by, as I said, any follow-up emails that you all might have. And without further ado, I want to turn this over to Nick Bulgarino for an orientation on the O-Scale Central O-Scale info package of websites and features. Nick.
Thank you, David. Hi, everybody. For those of you who I haven't met yet, I am Nick. So I'm going to give you guys a quick overview of OScale Central. So what is OScale Central? It's the name of the program that brings OScale 2 Rail to the internet, and it was adopted by the OScale Kings in, what was it, May of last year? Is that how long it's been, David?
Doesn't seem like that long, but yes.
Yeah, it's been a while. So the goal of the project is to create a permanent online setting in which we can share OScale 2 Rail with the internet. It is a project of the Kings, but it is free to access for anybody who is interested in OScale 2 Rail, because the Kings' mission is to spread the word about 2 Rail and give information to people about it, so they want to model in it. That's what OScale Central does. The two work together well. So to go over the network, we'll start with the Kings website. That's the first one listed here. The other three in the network so far are OScale Info, which we will talk about, OScale Forum, and OScale National Convention, which is the website we just saw. So starting with the Kings website, we're still making changes to it as we go along, based on the needs of the Kings, but this is the basic layout of the website. You have our officer tab that talks about who we are. We're uploading bios and pictures and contact information there. So for example, if we'll go here, I'll just use mine because I know it's blank. You know, I'll have a picture here, a little blurb about what I do, and then here is the email icon. You click that to get the secretary@oscalekings.org email address. So if I go back here, news and notes, this will be news that is specific to OScale Kings. There's an About Us tab about the same thing. This is all the OScale 2 Rail, OScale Kings stuff. There are some really nice articles on this website done by people who give us stuff, as well as our mentor coordinator, Ed Bomber. He has a lot of really good stuff on there. A reference area, which includes some All Nation, like old All Nation kit instructions, a member login for those of you who have a Kings login. If you do not have one, email me. I will make sure that you have it. There's a Contact Us tab, and what I want to draw your attention to right now, an OScale Network tab. Every website in the network has a network tab, so that way you don't have to go back to this website every single time you want to, you want to move around it. So again, the network, the websites in the network are the Kings website, OScale Central, which is the home page of this whole thing. It's basically this tab, but a single website page. This is OScale Info, which I will take you guys to next, OScale Forum, OScale National, and this is the blog. Now, I'll take a second here to address the blog. I made a post on it last Friday, basically saying around mid-March, we are going to take the blog down. It has served its purpose. We are moving anything that you can find on the blog to this next website, OScale Info. So OScale Info, this is the big website, the big project. This is where you come if you want to get all the information you can on OScale 2 Rail. There's a section up here in each of these tabs that has very valuable information. I'll just give a quick overview of all of them. This is the For Newcomers tab. It basically talks about what OScale 2 Rail is, why we choose to model in it, and it has a lot of really good pictures of models that, you know, are not brass models, unpainted, unlettered on a, plywood top. These are detailed scenes that, rival that of, some of the more detailed modelers out there, right? So that's the whole point of trying to show OScale 2 Rail in this light, to make people want to model in it. And then up here, the tabs change to have a bunch of other, base level information, O gauge versus O scale. And here we have, the contrast of models, the Lionel GG1 versus a COES, what the differences are and why this one looks like it belongs in the Railroad Museum of Pennsylvania versus this one, for example. One of the big pushes by the Kings is to talk about the different sub-communities in the hobby. And since we have a lot of different track gauges to work with, we have a page, ta-da, to talk about the differences. What is 5-foot gauge? Traditional O is what we're calling it, Proto 48, and what the differences are here. We want to talk about our ON3 and ON30, ON2 communities. And then, of course, I didn't even know about this until I started building this website. There are people that do 18-inch gauge for mining railroads. It's really neat. So just doing outreach to these communities to say, hey, you guys model in 148. We are the 148 SIG. We are here for you and your interests. And we also want people to model in that too. So this is what this page does. We believe our biggest source of converts is from 3Rail. So we dedicate an entire page to talking about the difference between the two. I was a sinner in a former life, and I also have 3Rail track to show the difference. You got to love your Lionel trains. So have that. I dedicate a good bit of time because one thing that 3Railers need to know is the difference between the insulated axle and not. That's how I somewhat famously burned down a locomotive, the one behind me, in fact. That's it post repair. So people need to know about insulated axles, and then of course other things that are helpful. These pages are considered living. One thing that we do need, and I'm working with people as we speak to get these pages done. I want to have a page up here that talks about switching from smaller scales such as N and HO. And then of course the final tab here is to show all of the community groups that are out there. There's a big presence of O-Scale 2Rail online already. It's off in the corners. We're trying to centralize where all of these are. So if you want to get more active with these groups online, you have a couple forums and blogs here that are great. A bunch of Facebook groups, which they are all fairly active. And I'm on all of these. Same thing with groups.io. If you are not a Facebook person, I understand Zuckerberg has access to all your information and cat pictures. So groups.io is down here for those of you who are not on Facebook. There are many ways to be active with O-Scale 2Rail online. This is one of them. So let me go back here. We have a secondary market guide, which talks about the most important part of for newcomers at least, to get good O-Scale equipment. This is just a guide that talks about how to do it. We will throw pictures in here as we can, but basically this is the overview on how to do it most efficiently and think about what you're looking for. The big project here that makes O-Scale info unique is the product guide. So there is a tutorial page. I'm going to skip over that because I'll show you guys how to use it real quick. So this, we try to make it as easy as possible. Up here, you have your super broad categories, your hobby shops, scratch building supplies, all the way down to rolling stock. This is going to go away because this is an alphabetical listing of all the vendors. So let's say you're a guy like me who just burned down his first locomotive and you now need a locomotive. So you click on motive power and you can either get a ready to run model or a kit. And because I'm a masochist, I want a kit. And now I want to find one in traditional O 5-foot gauge. Here are all the places that responded to us or that we know of who have kits. So let's say I want to go to P&D Hobby Shop for a kit. I want to get one of their F3s, right? So what you're going to find on these pages are the logo, if we were given a logo or we could find one for the vendor, basic contact information, as well as a quick description of what they sent us, how they want to talk about their business to you. And then over here, these are all the product categories that they say they have. So in addition to kits, they also have trackside detail parts, paint and brushes, foliage and trees, frog juicers, and the like. So to use the page, you just click on their website and you are now on their website. So you click the web link here, it'll take you off of our website and to the vendor's website if they have one. And now I can search around here for one of those kits. So we all know P&D's website, you go to trains and whatnot. So I'm not gonna go through there. During the question and answer component of this, if you guys have any questions, which I see the chat is lighting up here. I can't see exactly what's on it right now because I'm sharing my screen, but I'll answer questions and go over things again as need be. There are two more tabs on this website that I want to go over real quick, and that is the Find O-Scale and the News. One of the myths about O-Scale, and I hate that term, but I'll use it for now for lack of a better one, is that there's not a lot of us and there's not a lot going on. That's bull, and here's why. Find O-Scale shows you exactly what's going on in the scale, and I'll show you each of these pages real quick. These are the publications that have O-Scale in them, 2Rail. Of course, Dan Dowdy's wonderful publication, O-Scale Resource. There's O-Scale Trains with Martin Breckbiel, Proto 48 modeler, I believe that's Gene Demling. And then the Gazette, this is the Gauge O Guild. That's the European/English counterpart to the O-Scale Kings, who we look forward to working with in the future. And then, of course, O-Gauge Railroading will occasionally have 2Rail stuff, and they do have a 2Rail forum, so I include them there as a point. These are all of the groups that we know of that promote 2Rail. And we have them organized by state. And as you go down, let's use San Diego Model Railroad Museum here as an example. We have their website here, which if you click on it, it'll take you to their website. So I won't spend too much time on other websites, but this is how you use it. They have a description. You go by state and you can find just about any group. In fact, ta-da, Walter, here you go, Southeastern Florida O-Scalers, with contact information and everything. If there is a group on here that should be here but is not, email me, secretary@oscalekings.org. I will get it up there. I have editing privileges on the site, so it'll be fairly easy to get it up there. I just need the information. This is our calendar, our events calendar. And as you can see, again, another plug for Walter. The next event is the Southeastern Florida O-Scalers Invitational. If you click on that, you will get a write-up of the event. And I will show you in the news section over there in a moment, the actual flyer, but this is the event itself. There's contact information there. The next event after that is the Cleveland O-Scale 2Rail Train Show. And I believe I saw Sam Shoemaker on. He is the organizer of this show. This is all the information for that show. Here's the website for it. Here's the address. This is how we display the information. You can send it to your Google Calendar or iCalendar if you'd like. We try to make it easy so that you get reminders.
Well, we'll make some time. We'll make some time for Sam to tell us whatever the latest update on the show is and to deal with whatever questions people might have.
For sure. The last tab here I want to talk about is the news. So this is where I post all the news that I can get regarding O-Scale 2Rail. On the home page here, you have the latest news pop up here. Some people will send us a PDF, other people will send us a write-up. So this is actually a PDF that Walter sent us. You saw this a little bit earlier in the slideshow. So this is all the information necessary. You can download the PDF if you'd like. There's a little download button. Where is it? Oh, you right click and then save image as. So that's what this is. And then, for example, here's one where it's just a write-up. This is something, if you guys don't know Kevin Macomber, he owns Narrow Gauge Modeling Co. He has some good stuff on his site. Check it out. But he just sent us a news update saying that he just purchased a bunch of figures. So he will have those up on his site. And that's the point of the news. You know, you have product announcements, club and organization news, and then train show news. So when all of us heard about the March meet and we got the email, I almost said Ken Burney, Brad Kowal, who is the organizer, said, post this on O-Scale info if you wouldn't mind. I have no problem with that. So this is just the email that they sent out. All right, the next website in the network is, is the forum, which I already have pulled up here. This is the O-Scale forum. There's a lot of good discussion here. This is the only forum online strictly dedicated to 2-rail. And again, like all the other websites, it's free to use. Now, as an O-Scale Kings member, you have access to a secret forum all the way at the bottom here. Now, I'm not logged in right now, so you don't see it, but there is a O-Scale Kings members forum. And the whole point with this is we need a place to talk to each other about the Kings. And as much as these Zoom meetings are great, we can't have them all the time. So we need a forum for it. And there is a forum here. Again, I'm not logged in, so you can't see it, but it is a private forum for O-Scale Kings members only. I will give you the permission if you email me and you have an account on this forum, which again is free, so that you can access it. And again, here's the network tab. The last website, which we've already talked about, is the O-Scale National Convention. This website in the next 2 weeks is going to get updated with a lot of information. The Denver committee, as David has said, has been making strides of progress now that we have a number of things in place. And we're going to be updating this, so keep an eye out. This is going to be a very action-oriented website in the coming weeks. Other than that, I'll stop my screen share. That's my presentation. Now we can move on to the next segment. John.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if we wanted to pause here and take questions before I go into coming events.
Yeah, let's deal with questions. I saw that we have on the chat room a request from Walter for more information on the modular standards that his club uses and any comments or questions that he might have based on his experience. So we'll start with that one, but we're also going to be taking, after we get Walter's response, we'll also be taking any more general questions that people have. Walter, what can you tell us about your modular standards? And Eric Peterson posed that question, so he may have some follow-up questions.
Yeah, I saw Eric's post there, and I responded immediately. I do have that standard on a PDF. It's not like it's like a haphazard thing. We did establish a standard. Basically, we just took the NMRA standard sheet and modified it for our own purpose, but I do have a PDF, and I'd love to share that with anybody that's interested. You know, when it comes to the just specific changes or modifications, some of them are very slight. They were just practical modifications, like the legs. The legs, the NMRA says I use a hex nut at the bottom. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but I don't know, if you've got a module, and people can relate to this, you got to lay on the floor with an ignition wrench, combination wrench, laying down there trying to crank that thing out there. Holy cow, what a pain in the butt that is, right? So here we go. We have this other modular club. They're called the ON30. They're the Renegades. The Renegades are down here in South Florida, and they have an ON30 club. And I looked at their modules and say, well, they got these nice 5/16 big eyelet hooks or eye bolts that they use as legs. You just simply reach down there with your hand and you turn it. Wow, easy peasy, nice and easy. We're going to adapt that. So we adopted that for our legs. Another thing we got rid of, and we got rid of the bridge tracks. And we kind of went with Fremo. Fremo doesn't use bridge tracks. And I know what you're going to say. Well, how can you adapt your modules to fit to each other when you got double and triple track? Well, listen, the bridge tracks, they're a pain in the butt. We'll be out there with our Dremels cutting these bridge tracks because the modules never go together the same way ever. And you'll be out there till 10, 11 o'clock at night with your Dremels whirring and you got burnt fingertips trying to get these bridge tracks to fit. So we went with Fremo. Listen, you're leaving 4 inches at the end of your module for the bridge track. Forget about the bridge track. Take your flex track right to the end, leave the last 4 inches unballasted because it's unballasted anyway. And you simply take your track nail out and you line your track the way you need it and you're done, finished. We've reduced our setup time by 75%. It would take us, literally would take us 4 hours, 5 hours to set our module up. Now we can set our module layout in an hour, hour and a half, and we're done, ready to go. So the bridge tracks were a issue. And so that's another, that's one of several changes we had made. And we also went away from the Cinch Jones plugs and use automotive plugs. You can get them at any auto parts store. You can get them at Harbor Freight. I know some people say, oh, well, the gauge of that wire is a little bit thin. Well, they give you 20 feet of wire in every kit. So what we do is we take, if you got a 6-foot module, we take 12 foot of wire, double it up, spin it up on an electric drill, and boy, you got a heavy gauge wire in your bus now. And let's see, so that's what we did. The electrical plugs, the legs, the bridge tracks, and finally, we made an adjustment on the height of the module. And I know a lot of people freak out because I know the module standards for the Nmra modules are a little bit high. But we took our cue from the Renegades. The Renegades had their modules much lower than ours. They're 36 inches from the floor to the top of the rail. And I asked him, why'd you do that? And he said, well, look around here. I says, we got a couple of our members, they're in electric wheelchairs. That modular standard's a little bit too high for them. And also we go to the railroad train shows and there's a lot of young enthusiasts at these train shows and they're, 7, 8 years old and they want to put their hands up on the module and pull themselves up to look at the trains, so we lowered the modules and it's worked out quite well with us. And to tell you the truth, we have had no incidents with kids taking modules and taking models and touching them or banging them around or anything like that. If we see a young kid near the module and they're getting a little bit too close, we'll let the parents know, hey, they're getting a little close, but we haven't had any issues with the height of the module being lowered. And that sums up our standards. And I do have the PDF. So if Eric emails me or if anybody else wants to email me, I'll certainly send you our PDF.
Thank you, Walter.
Walter,
Hi, Dan.
Fremo. Hi. What is Fremo?
Fremo is a European, and chime in anybody if you want to correct me, but Fremo is a European modular group. They don't use bridge tracks, and at their terminus, at the end of the track, it's single track. They might have a siding on their module, but when it gets to the end of the rail, it's single track. And all they do is they line up their modules. You can have different code track. You can have 148, you can have 125, because all you're doing is you're matching up the rail head height and aligning the track. They don't even use rail joiners. That's Fremo.
And let me put in a plug. The O-Scale Kings have taken an active interest in module development, module standards, and Eric Peterson and Rich Randall have been leading that effort. And they serve also as clearinghouses because almost every city's modular group has a little bit different standards. But Eric and Rich will serve as clearinghouses for both input and for feedback on questions. Eric, if you've got anything you want to add on that, please do.
No, that was exactly what I was hoping for, Walter, and I'll send you an email and ask for the information. that's really good. But anybody who knows of any modules, whether they're kind of collecting dust or whatever, if you can send me information about the contact person and anything at all as just initial information about the modules, we'll try and see what we can do about having a good listing of what's out there and go from there.
Eric, can I ask you a question? Have you been down here in Florida? You look familiar. Have you been down at Proto Rails? Did you do a clinic on Katie couplers?
No, I didn't do. I've done signal clinics at Prototype Modeler. I lived in Jacksonville for 24 years and moved up here in 2017 after I retired from CSX.
I've run into you a few times with Ron Dittmer's group there in Orlando. Yeah, you're a familiar face.
Yeah, we worked on putting the Orlando thing together and got helped with the Nmra Sunshine Region activity advancing as well.
Yes, I thought you were a familiar face. I just want to add to the entire group, the Southeastern Florida O-Scalers, we've been together now 10 years, and we've been doing at least 3 shows annually, and they're train shows. They're strictly train shows. Some of them are TCA shows. We've done a GATS show, and we've been kind of rogue. You know, we really didn't put our name on O-Scale Kings until like maybe 6 months ago. But I encourage other O-Scale modular groups, I don't care how big you are, if there's 2 of you or 5 of you or 10 of you or whatever, list your O-Scale modular group with O-Scale Kings so we can network, so people know you're out there, because a lot of people just don't know we're out there. And that's all I gotta say.
On top of everything else, the modular displays at train shows or even at non-train shows are a secret weapon to educate the public about O-Scale 2-rail. There is nothing like seeing an operating 2-rail O-Scale train to get people's attention. And the modular groups offer a great way to do that. And I want to get any input that Kel Shearson might give us, because I think in New Zealand, he has been working with a group of O-Scale modular operators for a long time. And although New Zealand has its own very interesting railroads, he and his group model American railroads. Cal, you got anything to add to the discussion?
Yeah, so we have a Friday night group of HO modelers, of which I am one, that got into O-Scale on the side, as it were. So we still have a round robin HO layout, so we have interests all over the place. All model American prototype. And obviously I'm a nickel plate modeler, so I'm a bit different from everybody else. I model steam era, whereas most of the guys in New Zealand model West Coast railroads in the modern era. Our work with modules came about through one of our group modeling New Zealand prototype railroads in 9 mils, 5-foot track gauge. So he had a large module, which for any of you who play badminton, took up 3 badminton courts, which we displayed at public train shows. And just because of the size of the layout, it's pretty obvious that there's something big in the middle of the hall. But then you see the heft of O-Scale. It could run 40-car trains, no problem at all, and double mainline track, so that things are working all the time. Because the thing about a train show, as Walter will say, you've got to, if you want to keep public's attention, you've got to have trains running past all the time. Otherwise, they just walk on to the next display. Unfortunately, with the guy retiring who owned the layout, he's moved down to Christchurch, and many of us sitting up here in Wellington have got quite a decent sized investment in O-Scale rolling stock. So I've built a modular layout, O-Scale, which fits in a 3-car garage, specifically so I could set it up in winter, stick the cars outside
You're breaking up
have
a little bit,
week-long
Cal.
session. Take about, oh, sorry, okay, might have to talk a bit slower. Tyranny of distance. Um,
Uh-oh.
So my modular layout sits behind, and we can run 72-inch radius, so we can get a decent curve, plenty of yards, and so people can come along, bring whatever they want, and run it.
What are your
we haven't actually just. Sorry, David, go.
What are your what standards do you use? Have you your own or NMRA or what?
So I'm the Nmra Superintendent for New Zealand, which is part of the Australasian division. But we took, and I take Walter's point, we took the NMRA standards as a guide. The modules are heavy. If you build a module to an NMRA scale, NMRA standard, they're heavy. And we're all getting older. And one of the complaints about the old module was it was built by a bunch of who used heavy materials. My modules are made of 3-ply sides, a bit of timber on each end, dressed timber, and 50mm blue foam as a base. And they're very light, but they hold up. We just looked at the standards of what some aircraft were built with during the Second World War, and they were built very, very light materials, but they held together and went, 400 miles an hour. So we applied the same sort of thinking. My 6-year-old grandson can lift a module, no problem at all. We're using steel rod legs, and any individual module looks a bit flimsy and shakes around when it's standing on its own. But when you lock them all together, the mutual support from the whole layout, and it stands up. So we're in the process of scenicking that at the moment, with the idea that it'll get its first public showing at a train show in October this year.
Terrific. Thank you. Off topic.
We just use it in our group to run trains.
Off of immediate topic, any chance you're going to come to the Nickel Plate Convention in Cincinnati this fall?
It depends on a couple of things. One, when we get our COVID jabs, which we're a bit slow on. At the moment, any returning New Zealander's got a quarantine at their own cost for 2 weeks. And so that takes a chunk out of your life and a chunk out of your bank balance. And it depends on a whole bunch of things, David, and obviously the COVID situation in the States for us. So, yeah, love to, as you know, dying to get back, but don't want to die coming back, basically.
All right. Before we get too far, Sam Shoemaker, Sam has been running an O-scale show in Cleveland. I won't say forever, but he's got a good head start on forever. And I'd like to have Sam unmute himself and then give us a quick overview of the Cleveland show, which is, as far as I know, the next one out of the blocks. Sam? Sam, you got to turn your mic on. Don't see Sam's mic being unmuted. Unmute yourself. We cannot hear you, Sam. While Sam figures out how to unmute himself, I hope he'll be able to. There you go. Sam?
Is it there now?
Yep, we can hear you now.
Just press the mute button.
give us a quick on the Cleveland show.
Okay, the Cleveland show has been running. This is our 38th performance, if you want to call it that. So 38 years we've had this show, never missed, except for last year. But we're having it this year early. It's normally in November. We're having it for April. One of the reasons being is that there was no Chicago show, as we all know. And we wanted to move that up. People want to go to shows. They wanted to have a show. And so I saw an opportunity to help this out. And I got a date of April 10th at the Cleveland show. So, and we're still going to plan on having the usual November show as well. The first Saturday in November is when we normally have our show. So we're going to talk about 2 shows a year if the public will support it. So we're trying to generate some more interest in O-scale. The more we get out there, the more we show it to people, the more we're going to get people to come back into it. I've often said this, people want O-scale, they like O-scale, but they just don't know it. And the reason is because a lot of dealers, they can't afford to inventory it in shops and stuff, you know? So anyway, the more that we can get exposure to that, to the models, the more demand will be for it eventually. But anyway, getting back to the show, yeah, we're going to have a show that's going to be controlled by the virus, if you will, in that we're not going to have as much space to have tables, because half of it now will be used for distancing. And this is going to be a challenge because it's hard to keep people separated whenever they're looking at things, you know, that they really want to get a close-up view on. But anyway, we're going to have this show, and people like it. This is our 3rd year at this location. The room is 95 by 105, and it's got a restaurant, if you will, and the restaurant's inside, parking's in the back, no charge for parking, and easy access from out of town. The freeways go all around it. So this is a nice show. There's no reason for you to have to go out of the building if you want to get something to eat, or if you need to use a restroom, for instance. So
how do they get in touch? How do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, well, we have a website called cleveshows.com, CLEVE shows.com. Okay, that's one. And then our show is listed there in the flyer and everything. Just scroll down to the April 10th show, and you'll be able to click on that. And if you have a computer and printer, of course, at home, you can print out your own flyer or even registration form for the show. So, and this will be on all the way till the time of the show.
And both of those ways to contact you are also on the O-scale info calendar.
Oh yeah,
the events calendar. We got that up.
Yeah,
there.
thank you. We're on the O-scale resource, and then O-scale trains. So
okay, Cleveland is a 1-day show. The April 10 show is a Saturday. And,
yeah, it's a Saturday.
So it
starts
out of the box.
Yeah, it starts at 9 a.m. and we have it to be over at 2. But trust me, we don't have to shut down at 2. It comes with the contract. We can be in there till 11 o'clock at night if we want to. But so anyway, don't have to rush to get out of there. The only thing is, there is an early setup Friday evening. It's only for about 4 or 5 hours. And the thing is, it's kind of hard to judge that, how long we're going to need to have that, because the show's size changes, and then so does the time. And we pay $25 an hour for that time. So anyway, we're going to have this because people want it. And so, early setup, and then the show starts at 9. You can come in as a dealer in the morning as early as 7 a.m. and set up, but you have to be set up before 9 o'clock. So anyway.
Questions for Sam about the Saturday, April 10 show in Cleveland. All right. Thank you. I want to recognize before we move on the man who founded O-Scale Kings back in 2003, John Smith, has joined us. John, wave to the crowd. All right. Thank you for being here. All right, do we have more general questions? First of all, any further questions for Sam or Walter or Nick about their presentations? Okay, are there any more general questions? Are there any announcements? I have two. I'm going to put in a plug for John Wubble. Many of you, everybody here, almost certainly knows about the All Nation line. You may not know whatever happened to it. It went underground because the person who had developed it was no longer working and eventually passed away. John Wubble has purchased the All Nation line, including at least some of the tooling and a lot of inventory, and will have available All Nation parts and perhaps eventually All Nation kits and instruction sheets and everything. So John has just totally blown his idyllic retirement and is going to be spending his time thrashing through boxes of painted sides and castings and stampings and so on. But All Nation is back. You would have seen with Nick's news announcements on O-Scale Info that there is a company called Wit and Wisdom Models, which is producing kits for a John Armstrong structure. Some of you may remember a very famous painting by a man named Edward Hopper called Nighthawks. And John Armstrong, who was an art aficionado as well as a skilled modeler, made a model in O-Scale of Nighthawks and backwards engineered the artist's view, and then designed and built a kit. The model was featured in Model Railroader, and it's always been a favorite of mine. And I've been working with the Armstrong family, and I have John's original drawings, and we have come out with a kit for Nighthawks, and we're doing it in multiple scales, but we started with O-Scale. So those are available. There is a Facebook page called Help Me, Wit and Wisdom Models. Nick Balderino has been doing a lot of the work on that, and he has it. Anyway, we're having fun with it, and it's been very well received. Another announcement, Mike Walter, who is on the board of O-Scale Kings, is developing a program for membership benefits for O-Scale Kings. I've always had the belief that we should join and support O-Scale Kings because it's doing great things for the scale. But there is nothing like having some benefits like discounts and other things that are available only to members. If you have ideas for member benefits, Mike's contact information is on the O-Scale Kings website. But if Mike wants to say anything or ask anything about member benefits, that would be great. Now is a good time. You don't have to, but Mike?
No, I'm always looking for ideas. We've come up with a few things. One of them being a directory that can be accessed through a password with all of the members and only for members. so that networking can be promoted much easier. It's something that's been in the Train Collectors Association since they were founded, and it works well. It's never been abused to my knowledge, but I think that's one of the big things. Anybody else come up with some ideas that would be suitable just for members only, would be delighted to hear them and probably incorporate them.
Thank you. I want to thank Mike for his work. And before we move on, any further questions? One plug, and that is if there is a single program that O-Scale Kings has done that I think will benefit to the long-term welfare of the scale, it is the scale-wide product and service guide. And we haven't really had something like that since the Walthers catalog stopped being published. And particularly with the decline of retail hobby shops and the reduced visibility of 2RailO, people don't know it's out there. And if they know it's out there, they don't know how to get a hold of equipment and services for 2RailO. And we have put together that product and service guide. I think there are about 170 different businesses listed right now. And we are building on that and updating it constantly. The introduction to 2RailO, how do you get started? Where do you find stuff? How do you work the secondary market is also important. Nick, you got something to add?
Yeah, I'll throw this in here real quick. So part of the appeal of the blog is the fact that there was actually a dialogue between the developers of these sites, myself, David, Dan Dowdy, and you guys, the membership of the Kings, O-Scale 2Railers who are looking for certain things. And the entire network is a living, breathing, changing, online resource for everybody. So what I would encourage everybody to do is go and take a look at the websites. Don't be afraid to click. I made it real easy to get back home, right? There's a little home button in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. So go ahead, go up there, go to the sites, look around them. And if there's something that needs to be changed, I'm all for it. Tell me. I don't know what I don't know. So if I miss somebody, if there's something that you think needs to be on there, we're open to talking about it. So yeah, just send me an email.
I want to thank in particular Nick Bulgarino and Dan Dowdy for their work. The data collection, the data organization, the data entry, the data updating is a huge job. And we've been very lucky to have the manpower to do it. And I really appreciate both Nick and Dan's help. All right. One of the things they told us was KISS, which is keep it short, stupid, in this context. And so we don't want to prolong this. But before we move on, I want John Wubble to tell us where he is at, how to get in touch with him, when we're going to hear from O-Scale Central Online again, and some ideas about what the program is going to include. But by all means, if you guys have input, suggestions for programs, suggestions for people, get them to me, to Nick, or to John Wubble. John, take it.
Thank you, David. And I just wanted to go back to the screen share again with the O-Scale Central event series. Actually, you can get a hold of me. My email is my first initial, J, and my last name @gmail.com. I am usually listed when Nick sends out the list of board of directors and advisors with his email for announcing the directors meeting, but not all members would probably see that. This went pretty long. Our intention is to try to keep these series to like 40, 45 minutes. And what we're trying to do is look at April 3rd, May 8th, and June 19th as the upcoming events. I've taken the liberty of reaching out to some people like Vinny, spoke with him about his dioramas, which seemed like they might be a good topic, especially for the modular folks to consider. We want to keep it fresh, and we're going to probably maybe have a session with a panel discussion, or maybe even an interview with somebody like from Atlas. And I've talked to Jim DeBruin, who is an expert on the O-scale archaeology, does a series of articles in O-scale trains. And so that's what you'll have to look forward to in upcoming events. And as we get the commitments, we'll send those out early on so you can get these on your calendar. Not sure if I missed anything.
When is the next one? When is the next one?
We're planning April 3rd, Saturday, 3 p.m.
All right, watch for the announcements. I think we're down to the good and welfare part of the agenda. If anybody has anything by way of a parting flag, talk to us. If not, we hope
we'll definitely talk more about the Denver convention coming up in the series and news. So
Hey, John.
stay tuned.
John?
Yep.
Are you there?
Yep.
Yeah, can you update your phone number, please? It doesn't work.
I don't know. I can send it to you, Sam.
Okay.
I can give it to you now if you want.
Okay, go ahead.
570
Okay,
580
okay.
7406.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Nothing else. I want to thank everybody for your participation. And we will, John, is this going to be rebroadcast at all?
We will discuss that, Nick and I, so that other members could view this. And so I will be stopping the recording here shortly.
All right. Thank you all very much for participating. Give us some feedback. We're using this as an opportunity to learn and improve. And we hope to see you back next time, and tell your friends about it.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Program adjourned. Thanks a lot for your patience and participation.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.